This phrase has cropped up again. Goldman Sachs doesn't care if you raise chickens. The quote is attributed to the political theorist Jodi Dean and was used by Matt Huber in his recent book Climate Change as Class War as part of his critique of what he calls anti-system degrowth activists. Huber associates degrowth with the idealistic utopian politics critiqued by Marx and Engels and states that this politics would not confront the class that owns production but retreat from them. Dean's quote seems to have come to prominence in Inventing the Future by Srnicek and Williams, which most famously called for a leftist techno-utopian vision of full automation, synthetic biology, and space exploration. Chapter 2 of that book is called Why Aren't We Winning? A critique of today's left, and opens with Dean's quote. It argues against what they call folk political assumptions that have shaped recent leftist politics, including a tendency towards horizontalism, prefiguration, an emphasis on consensus decision-making, and localism. Embedded within these assumptions, they write, is a series of problems that constrain and limit their potential in the struggle against global capitalism. Betraying their expansionist and linear vision of social change, they state, the immediate question that must be asked of any prefigurative politics is therefore, how can it be expanded and scaled up? For Srnicek and Williams, capitalist domination is total. They speak of the hold that capitalism has over every aspect of our lives, from our most intimate desires to the most abstract financial flows. For them, nothing is more important than scaling up, which they assert folk politics simply cannot do. They say, and I quote, direct action can be effective in mitigating the worst excesses of capitalism, but it can never address the difficult problems of attacking a globally dispersed abstraction, often focusing instead on intuitive targets. Similarly, the problem with localism is that it effectively denies the systematically interconnected nature of today's world. Our problems are increasingly systemic and global, and they require an equally systemic response. The point appears to be that the exploitative structures of the global economy are positioned in a way that makes it impossible to challenge them through small-scale action. These are false and problematic distinctions, however, as Chris Smage pointed out in his book Small Farm Future. Smage notes that Dean's quote is premised on a sense that the world is huge, fast, interconnected, and highly technological, so any politics able to overturn its dysfunctions must likewise be huge, fast, interconnected, and invested in high tech. For Smage, rather than reinforcing the same habits of thought and practice which capitalism depends on, the journey to post-capitalism actually starts when you start keeping chickens, metaphorically speaking. As he has written elsewhere, does Goldman Sachs care if you raise chickens? No, of course it doesn't. Just as it doesn't care if you withdraw your labour as an individual miner or farm labourer by way of political protest. But if we raise chickens as part of a political movement, then I think it'll start to care, just as it, or at least the political and economic establishment, care when trade unions are able to use the power of labour as a collective political weapon.